WordNerds, welcome to live chat. Today we are discussing Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Leigh? I don't know.
Leigh.
I've been saying Leigh for a very long time, but I'm almost one of those people that pronounces everything wrong. So welcome to our book club. I know it's a week late, but better late than never. So we're going to be talking about all the stuff that happens in the black pages. Black like my soul.
Oh, it's so pretty.
I know, it's gorgeous. I felt festive today, so
this is like one of the few books we all actually have because it's so beautiful.
So I do have a library copy. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm planning on buying one eventually. But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to read Crooked Kingdom first.
It's so good.
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, I'm gonna go on your rating, and then favorite character. Just like no explaining, just like off the bat. Favorite character.
Ooh.
What's everyone's names?
So hard.
What's everyone's names? Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna start with Emma.
Okay. This is difficult because I would give the first half of the book and the second half of the book different ratings.
Okay.
I would give like the first half like 3 stars. Like that's where I thought I was gonna be like while reading it, but then like after the second half, it was closer to like 4.5 stars. So, because yeah, I struggled for the beginning of it, getting into it, which we can talk about later. But then like once I started to finally connect with the characters, like halfway through, then I was like really into it. So it definitely took a while for me to enjoy it. But in the end, like probably like 4.5 stars for me. Because I do like really want to read the second book. So, and my favorite character is probably Inej. I like her.
I love her.
All right. Kelly's next.
I'm gonna call it a solid 4-star. Like I read it a little later than most of us, and I knew a lot of people had trouble getting into it. I didn't really find that. It was like a consistent, yeah, this is pretty great, without ever being like, whoa, blowing my mind. And I pick Nina, I think. I reserve the right to change my mind.
Okay. And
I'll probably end up calling every character my favorite character.
Yeah.
And Megan.
This was also a solid 4 for me. Sorry, so much shine. I struggled a lot getting into it. I'm in like the worst fantasy slump of my life though. I've only read 3 fantasy books this whole year and they've all been book clubs. So I don't know if it's all me or if it was part of the book, but there was pretty consistently stuff I struggled with, though I did love the ending. And my favorite character is probably, he didn't even do that much, but I loved Wylan. I kept picturing him. I kept picturing him as Matt Damon in Ocean's 11. He's like the same person, basically. I loved him.
Good. I give this a solid actually no, not a 4.5 stars. I think like it was up there. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I didn't have trouble getting into it at all. I did read this a little while ago though, so I can't quite remember every single emotion that I had while reading it. But I think my favorite character is Inej, although my favorite lines all come from Kaz.
He had some good lines.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, this isn't a spoiler, but in Crooked Kingdom, there's this one part that he has at the very beginning of the second book, and it's just so cool, and it has so much character development, and it's kind of he's talking to this little child, and it's kind of talking about being a monster, and it's like, oh, it's like the coolest part. I can't quote it or anything, but like, oh, it's so neat. So you have to read Crooked Kingdom at least like the beginning of it to just for that scene, because oh, it's so cool and so creepy.
Desiree's in the discussion. She said she gives it 4 stars. My favorite character is Inej, but also Nina.
There's a lot of strong females in this series, which I really enjoyed. There's like a ridiculous amount of females, but both female characters were really great.
I was thinking that at one point of like, we've come so far, it would have been great to see like at least a 50-50 split on the genders for a change, on like heists or like groups of characters, because you definitely could have done it in this, so still boy heavy.
Yeah, I don't mind. There is a lot of diversity here in race and sexuality, so it's kind of like, yeah, okay, it's fine. I didn't mind it too much.
Yeah.
And did any of you read her other series, The Shadow and Bone, before you read?
I read the first book, and I thought it was all right, but I didn't love it enough to read the rest of them.
I forced myself to read them. I didn't love them either.
Yeah,
No?
I had to force myself just to finish the first one. So.
Yeah, I was the same. I read the first one, and it was like a 3-star for me. Like the world was amazing and beautiful and super impressive to me, but I just didn't really care enough about Alina. Was that her name?
Yeah.
I think I bought them all because I thought I was going to love them, and then so I just had to read them.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I don't know. I know that it is a series that is a little bit like a, you know, either love it or hate it. Like everyone's like kind of like whatever. Like it's a bit of a change, like depending on who you talk to. But I really liked it. I thought it was really cool, and I had a lot of friends that went into it without reading Shadow and Bone, and they said that it was okay. But I actually kind of like the idea to read that series first because it really helped me with a lot of the terminology and the mythology and stuff behind it.
I definitely, since I had only read the first one, and I'm pretty sure I skimmed through like the last half of the first one, like I did, and it has been a while, I kind of struggled with some of the world building in this because I like was like, what are they? Like they kept talking about like the war and the first army, and I was like, I don't even know what they're talking about. Like, and it took me a while to figure out like time-wise and setting-wise how this relates. Like apparently this is like right after.
This is immediately after.
Or something, or soon after?
Soon after. I'm not quite sure how many years, but it's like soonish after.
Okay.
But not
I was very confused because she said a prayer to a Saint Alina or something.
That's where that series goes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I was like, so this is
series
way after?
Okay. No. Just
and for some reason, I went into this thinking it was before. So like, then I was like, oh, this is after.
I thought it was like 100 years later.
Oh, okay.
Just because it said she was a saint, and usually you don't get to be a saint unless you're super dead.
No, it happens in, I think it's the second one, or I mean, like people see her doing like amazing things, so everyone just kind of starts calling her Sancta Alina, which is like saint. And yeah, it's actually kind of funny because she goes about, I'm pretty sure it's in the second and third book where people are now, because she's a saint, people are like trying to use her as like a scam to make money. So they're like, oh, real toe bones of Sancta Alina, like you can buy them, it's like good luck charms and stuff. And she's like riding by them on a horse, like lol, nice try guys. Like like a still alive
she
over
was
here
dead
with all my toes.
around when she became a saint, like end of book 2-ish. No,
I think at one point she almost died? Question mark. I read that series a very long time ago, so I can't quite remember.
Yeah, it's much older.
She did some big event thing.
When her and Mal like spoilers escape or something, and they're in the other place for a while. I think people thought she was dead, and maybe that's when they started calling her a saint.
I can't
and then
quite
at the end
remember.
of book 2, the like creepy religious guy pushes it. And
Oh my gosh, yes, forgot about creepy religious guy. Oh, so annoying. Anyways.
I think this is place right after.
Yes.
I think part of what like made this book a little bit difficult for me is just that the beginning has so much setup, which like Megan sent me like a Snapchat while she was reading it, where she said it's like a heist movie where there's like a ton of setup at the beginning, but like instead of like in a heist movie you get like more of like a montage. This it was like multiple chapters devoted to it. Like the whole like I was very confused for the whole beginning, and it took me a while to get into it because it was like first it was like this random guard on this estate, and then those characters never came up again. Like so I was very confused about who the book was about for a while. I was like, who am I supposed to be caring about in this book? Yeah. But then like you have to be introduced to like every like person that's gonna be a part of the crew, and like I feel like it jumped around a lot. We're like
like he doesn't get chapters.
He's just there. Really, okay.
But like I remember distinctly like near the beginning that like a chapter would end or a scene would end and it would go to the next one, and I would be confused again because it would like jump forward in time where I wasn't expecting it to, but then it would like it would jump forward in time but then explain things that happened in between. So like the whole first like 100 pages I think was like, I don't know, I just had trouble following it for a while. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I was listening to the audiobook, so I was like, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to power through this, and eventually I'll figure out what's going on in this book. So
yeah, I wonder if that was like an audiobook thing, because reading the physical book, the timeline didn't confuse me that much.
Yeah, it wasn't as confusing. Yeah.
There were other things that confused me, but the timeline wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
Desiree said the beginning almost made me quit reading it.
Really? Interesting.
Desiree, for those of you who don't know, her computer is giving technical difficulties. So she'll be in the discussion. We love you, Desiree.
We miss you, Desiree.
We saw your face for 3 seconds and it was glorious.
Yeah, if we hadn't been doing the book club, I don't know if I would have like kept reading. But I'm glad I did because I ended up loving the second half of it. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Confession time.
Uh-oh.
I knew I wasn't going to be in last week's chat because I was traveling a ton and like a family friend died and just like a lot of stuff was going on. And I was like, I'm not loving this book anyway. I'm just not going to read it. And then you guys postponed it. And I was like, oh, now I have to read it. So like all day yesterday, I just like plowed through this book one sitting, no stopping.
Are you glad you did?
I'm glad I did, yeah, and I'm definitely gonna pick up Crooked Kingdom because I want to know how it ends.
Yeah.
They're not invested in everybody, so
I
I'm
need to
guessing
know.
book 2 is easier to just like fall into.
Exactly,
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Although I do wish that she had made it a trilogy because I think there was a lot to do, but I also didn't hate that it was a duology.
Yeah, duologies are so big right now.
Right? Before everything had to be a trilogy, and now everything has to be a duology.
I'm waiting for 4 to be a thing. I think 4 will be a good place for
Yeah.
All right, favorite things that you did like. Let's go through that. Just, I love Wyland and Jasper. They're freaking adorable.
Yes, I love them so hard.
I love all the couples. All the couples are
All
so
of them.
great.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There
Also,
was-
I loved Kaz's backstory.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
sometimes I felt like the book spent a little bit too much time in backstory. Like I feel like a large portion of the book is like character backstory, but I
Yeah.
loved Kaz's backstory. So like,
Yeah.
See, I liked Nina and Matthias's backstory.
I really liked
Yes.
theirs,
Yeah.
too. It was like I liked all the backstories, so it was okay. But I also was like, if these backstories were even just like a little bit less interesting, then like it would
Yeah.
have been
Like,
spinning
yeah.
around. But at least
it's
they had
like
interesting ones.
a prequel short story collection and then just pick up the pacing of this book.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because like Kaz's was hard to read for me sometimes. Like I kept putting it down. I'm like, oh no, this is gonna be awful. I don't want to read this.
I think for Kaz's backstory, I kept mixing up who was who. Like who ripped him off? Who was the original person that ripped him off? Who was the person that stole the stuff? Like who was the person that got?
There's a lot of name changing too. Like I had for a while, I thought Matthias and Heltzer or whatever his last name is. I thought they were two different people for a very long time, longer than I'm proud to admit. I was like sitting there counting, and I was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The book says there's 6. Why am I counting 7?
It's amazing.
Well, I love her world for Ketterdam. I think it's so cool. I love the city, and I love how there's the barrel and how Kaz's CROWS, Crow Club, and him being called Dirty Hands, like always wearing gloves.
The
Like,
gloves,
I love that idea. And the backstory behind that is like so sad and creepy. Just like
Yes.
had to cling to my dead brother for a little while and escape, and then
surrounded by dead bodies.
surrounded by dead people.
Now I don't like to touch flesh.
Yes, I'm like, okay, that's acceptable. I love how he has I don't know, they don't never explain it, which is the only thing I'm a little bit angry about. His limp and his cane. He's so badass. But it's just, I don't know, it's one of those things where I was like, I kind of wish that they had said, because it's just like, oh, he like hurt his leg like a long time ago kind of thing. And you're like, okay.
Briefly mentioned, but I don't
Really?
know
Oh, I can't remember if they did.
I can't remember.
It wasn't like a plotty thing. It was just kind of a this happened one time during this job kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I just read it last night. They did tell the story. It wasn't anything major. He like jumped and broke his leg or something, and it didn't reset. And then he talked about how like it's a metaphor for all of himself. Like he's always been wounded and never reset right, but he makes it his strength or whatever.
Okay.
Okay, so that just
Awesome. I
kind of
remember
feels like
that.
he got the limp so they could mention the metaphor, which makes sense. Cool.
Well, okay.
But also, it is something he would totally do, like not wait for it to be set right. So
Yeah.
he does establish his character well.
Yes. Oh, he's such
And in
a-
his line of work, it makes sense that he would have broken his leg at some point. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was gonna say I like how Inej at the end is kind of like, I am going to have you without the armor. I think that was a really good thing because
chills during that part.
like I wanted, so good. Well, like I wanted to ship them so bad, but then also I was like, Kaz, you're being like You're being difficult.
Yeah.
And just like, just let Inej love you.
Yeah, like, you understand why he has like all the walls and everything, and like doesn't want to touch people and all that, but you're also like, I just want them to be happy. And, like,
Pretty much.
Inej is the reflective.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It's good. And then at the, what was I gonna mention? Right. I was just talking about Inej in general because she's so cool, and I love that she was a part of the menagerie, and then she just like killed a bunch of people. You're like, oh, okay. And then she can just climb, and she's Shadow, and she just like climbs up walls, no problem. That was really cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and how intense it was when her shoes started melting.
Yeah,
that was such a good scene.
Yeah.
I love that scene. It was
I really
so
like those heisty bits where they like.
Yeah.
Yes, they
the
built the
heist
characters
itself.
around what they need for the heist, but it seemed like they built the team around what they were going to need for that. Like it felt like a heist movie. And
Yeah. It was a great heist plot. I really liked it.
It really, I had just watched, so I'm going to compare it to Ocean's 11 a lot because I just watched Ocean's 11 like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, but it really felt so much like it.
Yeah.
Just like that whole heist, not so much that it felt like it was copying it, but so much just like the perfect heist flavor, and it felt so cinematic, and I just it was great.
There were so many scenes where I couldn't stop because I was like, it's so it's very cinematic, I think is a good word, because like my heart is beating really fast, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're gonna get caught, or all the shoes are melting, and I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen, like okay, it's so good.
I love in heist movies like Ocean's 11 where like you think everything's gone wrong, but it's somehow good, and you don't know how they did it, and like I love that. I love that at the end of Ocean's 11 where you're like, wait, how did they get the money out? And it like goes back and shows you, and I feel like this book does a good job of doing some of those moments where you're like, wait, how did they like get out of that? And like it turns out that like Kaz planned it all along.
I freaking Kaz and his extra planning. I'm just like, how is this possible? Like you think he's just like, oh, like I don't like that, so he'll like drop a letter or something like that, and you're like, oh, it's fine. And then like way later in the book, it ends up that he had been like writing this person to get this person out of jail for that, so that they can come and meet them. And I was like, how does this? How do you plan that hard? Also, just FYI, in Crooked Kingdom, that kind of comes up again at the end, and it's brilliant. Just saying. Is it that extra like planning that you're like, when did you have time to do this? Sorry, I won't say
like that.
Yeah. And I love that you got to see, because it's a book, it's not a movie, you get to see inside of Kaz's head. Because like in heist movies, you've got like the George Clooney and the Brad Pitt, and they're just like super confidence man. You don't really know when they're bluffing and when they've had it all planned. But when you get into Kaz's head, you get to see every now and then like, oh no, he like is just super good at going along with this, or oh, this part he's not that confident, but look at how awesomely he's playing it off. And I loved that. With the alarms going by when he met with the one guy, and he said he knew where his girlfriend was, and he was gonna burn down her house, and the ambulance or whatever happened to be going by at the time.
Yeah.
So good.
There was something I was gonna say, but I can't remember. So.
Okay. Oh well, I'm like I mean like I kind of dressed up a little bit today just because I was like, let's get fancy. But then also I'm like, I have this one piece of jewelry that I'm wearing that's really freaking cool, and I don't know if you're gonna be able to read it.
That's so cool.
That's like big fandom clothing or whatever. I'm like, fandom jewelry.
Yes,
no orders, no
love
funerals.
that.
I love that saying. I love how it plays into it. It's just so neat, so morbid, and I love it.
It was very dark, and like I love dark, so it was fine. But it was very dark for a YA. I thought, like on the darker end of things, which I loved.
Yeah, I liked it about it.
Yeah, I was surprised there weren't more death.
Like, yeah, right. I was kind of expecting someone to go, and they did.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
I was expecting, I mean, based on like the blurb where it says, I guess the blurb doesn't really say this, but like it says like if they don't kill each other first. But like I was like expecting like one of them to like betray everybody else. And like, but then I was like so conflicted because I was like, I don't want any of them to, like, I like all of them and I want them to all be friends.
Yeah.
I was setting it up that a couple of them were going to be
this person like betraying them all, you know?
Well, Jesper kind of did that by accident, so.
But not like I was expecting someone to be like, you know, like the mole or something, and nobody was. And
The planets were all set to like straight up murder the person after.
Yeah. Well, I really liked Jesper's character, and I thought that there was going to be something more with him. So like he did kind of do that like almost fake out where, you know, oh, he did betray them, but it was by accident. But I was kind of expecting him in particular to have a double cross them or something like that, just because of all his gambling and stuff. I really liked his backstory. Actually, I really liked him and his problem with the card tables and stuff.
I do love, speaking of betrayal, I do love that whole part where like you think for a second that like Matthias has betrayed him, he's like working with like his commander, and then like you find out he's not, and you're like, ah.
So good.
That's one of the best. That's like we had a plan moments.
This book was a lot of fun.
It was so fun. And it like gave me so much inspiration.
Yes,
like,
a lot.
I was like, oh, I need to write again. Look at all these cool things you can do.
And also I just ship everyone together, so.
Yes. Yeah. I like Snapchatted Emma, I think. But there was legit a part, probably like almost halfway through, where it was like you kind of thought you knew what the ships were gonna be, but it wasn't super clear yet. And it was like I could legit ship all of these people, any one of each other, like Inej and Nina, or like Jesper and Kaz, like any of them.
So many. I think, although I really do like Kaz and Inej, I do think my number one ship is probably Nina and Matthias. I love their backstory. It's just so cool, and he's a rad character. And Nina, poor Nina, with her whole like, I'll take drugs for you to get us out of this, and then I'm like, no, Nina, don't do it, don't do it. But she does, and then she like, which is so weird because then her powers go like dark kind of, and then she can control like dust, which is like bones, which is super creepy, and then just like kills a bunch of people, and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Thanks, Nina. But now she's addicted to the stuff, addicted to Gerda, and everyone is running around trying to figure out how to stop it. And and then we have what's his name? Yul, the son.
You'll buy yours how they pronounce, or no, you'll buy yours how they pronounce the like father.
That's the father.
I'm trying to remember the son.
He's actually super cool. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like him or not. I thought he was gonna be like the whiny brat, but he's actually a really cool character.
There's the one really nice thing about the audiobook was figuring out how to pronounce their names. Except for Bull Yul Bayor, like I felt like because there's multiple, each like POV has a narrator, and I feel like they all pronounced it slightly different because it's just such an odd
Oh
name.
no.
Kuei.
Yeah, Kuei. Yeah.
Oh, Kuei. Right.
Yeah, Kuei Yul Bayor.
Yeah, I liked him. I like the tension.
Very interested in him.
Oh, I like how it is. I mean, technically the drug was supposed to be to help suppress power so that they wouldn't get hunted down, and then it was like, surprise! And now they're like forcing people to take it so that they can do more magic, and it's just weird. But I'm like, he actually seems like he does want to help, and he's actually a really good character. And especially the tension between him and Jesper and Wylan, like, that's good.
So
it's
good. Speaking of Jesper and Wylan, I was like, when I like was near the end, I think I hadn't finished it yet, but I was like, I really like Jesper and Wylan, and I kind of want to know if there are things. So I was trying to look up spoilers online, and anyway, I like found people like, I don't remember where this was, like I can't remember where it was now, but it was like some people were like talking about it, and like whether or not they were going to be a thing in the second book or whatever. And like, and one of them was like, I think that it's possible that like Jesper might be gay. And I was like, were you reading the book? Someone was like, I kind of got the vibe he might like Kaz. And I was like, you think?
You're like, really?
It was ridiculous. Like people were like, no, he says he likes Wylan's face. I was like, I don't.
And just okay.
It was funny, like just like people being like, I guess it's possible, maybe, and I was like, I thought Jesper was pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Did you see this picture? I'll put it in the discussion too for any of you who want to see it. But Adam Silvera took it at BookCon, and it's like of Wylan, and it's so cute, and I love it.
Oh my gosh, that's adorable.
I'm looking now. Oh, I love that. Yeah, no, I have seen that picture before because it looks exactly like one of my friends. Well, because it was there's a thing at work where when the book came out, like a bunch of us read it all at the same time. We were so excited. Really, this is the coolest thing ever, and like 20 of us made it our staff picks, and it was really, really great. And that was one of the things where like kind of sounds like Connor, and then they released all the art, and we're like, oh my god, Connor, it's you! And he loves Wylan, so he was like awesome. So we were thinking like, oh, we just do like a costume or something.
Now, speaking of the art for these books, so like before I had ever read this was like back when the book first came out. I remember there had been like some art, and there was some like fan casting, but it was like the publisher releasing it kind of thing. Anyway, and like I kept seeing this like one character over and over again, like both like live action actors and art of, and it was always this like black young man. And so I was like, oh, okay, this, and like everyone kept like sharing pictures of it, and so I was like, oh, people must love this character, this must be the main character or whatever. So I went into this book and I was like, Kaz is the main character, that must have been Kaz. And then I get like halfway through the book and like there's like a mention of him having like his hands being pale, and I was like, wait, what? And I like look at
just his hands. Just his hands are white.
All those pictures were Jesper. It completely changed how I saw them, because I definitely was picturing that as Kaz the entire book until they said that his hands were pale, and I was like, oh.
Wait. Who is the main character?
Yeah, exactly. I'm so confused. What's that art of? So.
We've got a couple comments. First of all, Desiree wants to know where you got your ring.
Etsy. From Etsy. I know. Well, I actually came across a bracelet first, and I was like, "Yo, that's cool." And then there was a ring, so I was like,
"Look at that." Desiree also said Jesper was a really boring character until suddenly he wasn't. He became super.
He was. Yes, agreed.
Defenestration Nation said the beginning confused me a lot, but it absolutely cracked me up. Yeah, for something so dark, it was also hilarious.
It was so much sass.
Yes,
so much like dark humor and like sarcasm, and it's so great.
Defenestration Nation also asked, I love the audiobook and how it had different narrators. Do you know if Crooked Kingdom has an audiobook yet?
Probably.
It's been out for a little while.
Yeah. And for something this popular, they probably would have done it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Narrators. They were all really great.
There were frequently moments in this book that I did feel a little bit like the characters, they had been through a lot, so I think that's the justification for it, but they seemed much older than they were. Enough to the point where I was like, are you really all like 16 years old?
Yeah. And sometimes when they would talk about how like their ages, I was like, wait, what? And yes, it does look like the audiobook is out. So.
Excellent.
Yeah, I do. I think it is strange sometimes to look back and be like, you're 16, okay, like
a whole crew of 16-year-olds pulling off
right, who are all super mature and can do like have these amazing abilities, and I'm just like, nah. Like when I was 16, I was awkward as hell. And
well, especially Matthias, it's hard to like imagine him, and Nina, both of them. It's hard
to imagine he's also supposed to be so big.
Yeah,
isn't he older? Aren't Nina and Matthias older?
They might be a little bit older,
but
it's
only like 18.
Yeah, I think it was like 18. Still, it's weird.
Yeah.
That kind of happens a lot in fantasy novels, especially like in contemporary. If character's 16, you see them being 16, you know. But in fantasy novels, and this one, I guess this one, it is a heist. It's like a dirty city. It's crime ridden and whatever. So
they've been through a lot.
In a lot of fantasy books, the characters have to grow up faster than they would in the contemporary.
And I think one of the things too that I'm guessing is going to be looked at a lot more in Crooked Kingdom were like slightly more YA themes that we didn't get as much of, like finding yourself and who you want to be, like a lot of finding themselves was just like in a survival scenario.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense.
I'm trying to remember. I'm like, I think there is a little bit of that.
Uh,
Especially with an edge, if I'm remembering correctly.
yeah. And like first love, for characters who like experience that, like that's usually a really big theme in YA. And
It's true.
it seems like
It
that's
definitely felt like a YA
much more.
Yeah.
Books
It definitely
too.
felt like a YA book, but it was
Yeah.
also odd to think of the characters as teenagers.
Yeah,
exactly.
definitely.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those books that, like, some series are like YA fantasy. I think this is a fantasy that happens to be YA, and I think that if it was in the fantasy section in like a regular bookstore, I think it probably would be fine.
Mm-hmm. The world. I can't get over how
world building was so good.
The world is so good.
I
Sometimes
actually,
Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. No, it's fine. I'll mention it later. It's fine.
Oh, I was gonna say sometimes I read worlds like this and it's like, what am I even doing?
Right.
Yeah.
She's had a lot of time to play in this world. Like,
That's
Yes,
true. That's very true.
Mhm.
I was gonna say something kind of about the characters, how believable / not believable they are. Is that for the very reason that I love it, it's also a little bit weird how I guess like the thing with Kaz, like how he always plans ahead and how he has all these grand schemes behind the reader's back. That was almost unbelievable at times, because I was like, he'd pull something out and you're like, how did you know that could have possibly done that at this time with those people? Like, how do you know that? And that was like, which I loved, because it's like a, haha, like I knew this all along kind of thing. But then also I was like, okay, so you're telling me that letter you sent in like chapter 2 is like finally making its way back into here in like chapter 30, and you have like all this stuff going on behind the scenes and no one noticed.
Like,
So that part's a little ugly, but
foresight. I'm a writer and I don't even have that much foresight for my own characters.
I don't even have that much foresight for like my own life. Like, I don't even know what I'm gonna have for dinner tonight. Like, that is not something that I could think of. I mean, like, gotta plan a heist. Yeah, no.
We had a question from Desiree. If you could be any type of Grisha, what type would you want to be? I would totally want to be a fabricator.
Ooh, decisions. Wait, I have to
See,
remember what they are.
So yeah, as I said, the Grisha are the part of the world building that is the hardest for me in all these books.
Yeah.
Like I can never remember the different kinds
Yeah.
and like what they do. Like I get so
For the
confused.
first trilogy,
there
I
a
read
list?
book in 1 and 2 twice each. So I've read 6 times books in this world, and I still don't understand it.
I literally, like, near the very end of this book, finally understood why they were called corporality. Like, I remember all through the first book, I was like, why are they called that? Like, because it made me think of, like, corporals and, like, armies. I was like, why are they called that? And then I finally was like, oh, like, body.
Like body, yeah.
It took
Corporal.
me forever to understand why they were called that.
Yeah, I think I want to be a corporalky too, because I'm like,
Yeah.
Etherealky are the summoners, so you have the Squallers, Inferni, and Tide Makers, and I'm like, who do I be a Tide Maker? Like, no,
I was
that's
about to say I
boring.
want to be a tide maker.
Really? Sorry, Emma. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, it like probably wouldn't be that bad, because you can control water, like any water. So, I mean, okay, not just the
Listen, I don't want to kill people. It's too much responsibility.
Okay. So, like, your Hufflepuff is showing. No, I get it. No, I get it, because you can control like mist, you can control tide, you can control just like water in general. So that actually might come in handy. Or you can just like get some fire. You're like, that's convenient.
I just don't want to be. I don't want to be involved with people at all. So I don't want to be a heartrender or a healer. So
My like Slytherin is showing. I'm like, I want to be a heart render. Bring it on.
Well, I think like I kind of do. So it's okay. That's my Slytherin showing. Yes. Okay.
Now I'm just shopping book jewelry on Etsy. So.
Really?
There's so
Ouch,
much
bad. So many things.
Yeah. Desiree said tide makers are basically waterbenders, which is pretty dope.
True. Okay, I take back my original comment. I'm sorry.
My whole life, whenever me and my cousins would like play like weird, like I guess like role-playing games, but just like in person, we would just like pretend that we had different powers and stuff, and like we would always do like elemental based stuff, and I was always water, so I guess it makes sense that I chose tide makers.
All right.
I like water a lot.
Because I really like water.
Water is important to life.
It is.
Yeah. I liked earthbending, but they don't have an equivalent, so I'm out.
It's kind of fabricatory.
I
Yeah,
guess.
kind of. Actually, this happens a lot. They hint at it in the first book, but it happens a lot in the second book, being a heartrender. And it's kind of with Nina about, like, the living and the dead. I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want to put too much of a spoiler. But yes, it's very cool what happens. And so technically there's, like, another part of being a heartrender. It's kind of dope.
I just noticed that at least in this edition, under corporality, where it says the order, they forgot the space between V and order.
Same. This bothers me so much.
Why?
I feel so bad for the publisher. I feel so bad for the publisher because I'm sure
That's
there's
okay.
like thousands of these. Really?
Yeah, I got the box set of the two.
Like my edition.
We fixed it.
I don't know. I think the poor publishing people must have like ordered a big batch of it and then like looked at it and like, oh crap.
Oh my gosh. Such a good book.
Yes. I think it's just like the pacing of it was really good, at least for me. I know some people didn't like it, but I like the pacing, especially near the end, just because it got so intense.
Once it started like moving, I thought the pacing was really good.
Yeah.
It's just the
But I
first
think
like 100 pages I said.
Had filled up on backstory, so there wasn't any more like stopping for that.
True.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I skimmed a lot of the backstory because it like the only time it ever came up where it was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have skimmed the backstory was when Nina runs into the general from the boat.
Yeah.
And literally nothing else got brought up again.
Mm-hmm.
That couldn't be gleaned from skimming at least. And
Yeah.
so I was like, hopefully this doesn't come up again because it doesn't feel that important.
Yeah. Definitely.
I loved how. Oh, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, I just can't wait for you guys to read the second one.
Yeah,
I think
we'll have to do the second one for like a next year book.
Yeah, because I think I liked Twos of Crows overall better, but I liked the ending of Crooked Kingdoms more.
Yeah.
I did feel a little like the ending, it was like, oh, it's a duology and the Nina thing isn't enough of a cliffhanger. What are we gonna do? Better take an edge.
Yeah, that felt really fast to me.
Yeah.
There was no like, oh, maybe we'll like threaten a little bit. It was just like, he sees her like look at her. You're like, oh, take her, done. Okay. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, what's
Yes, the
happening?
Nina thing, but you needed something you could like heist in the second one.
Yeah,
That's
like a
true.
thing we have to do.
I thought she was gonna be stuck in the menagerie and that was gonna be what they heisted.
Ooh.
Yeah, but that was like easy. He like snuck out by himself. I do actually. I really wish that there had been more of that because that her backstory, especially in the menagerie, is just really interesting to me, and how she was wearing that like fancy costume and she had shoes with bells on them and she snuck up on Kaz and that's how he asked her to be a part of his crew. He like looked over and was like, how the hell did you get here?
Yeah. Oh, but he was like, never sneak up on me again.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, when the lady when the headmistress recognized her at the party, I was like, oh my god, it's gonna go down. They're gonna have to heist her twice. It's gonna be awful. Like no one's going where they're supposed to be. Everything's gonna go wrong, and then everything was fine. But like,
And she like pulled
really
the Kaz and stole the choker while like distracting her. Oh.
I was, who is it? Someone at one point, like, I think it's like, I don't know if it's Pekka Rollins or it's someone big like that. It's someone big character who's at his desk and he's talking to Kaz for like 2 minutes and then Kaz leaves and he like looks down, his like, pocket watch is gone, his like the dagger on the desk is gone, like all this stuff, like his pin is gone. He's like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
I love that so much where you never even see him touch him, yet Kaz somehow like steals all of this stuff.
Yeah, I love that. I want to like reread that chapter now to see if like, are there parts where he's running into him or something? Like, how did he do it?
Yeah, well, yeah, that was the thing where I was like, it was unbelievable, but I didn't even care because it was just so funny and fun. I'm like, you kind of need to touch people to be able to grab stuff, but
I love like watching people doing magic tricks on YouTube and stuff and like trying to figure out how they did it and like looking for like this hand over here is doing something big, so this hand must be doing something that you don't want me to notice. Like, I love watching those things. And so I want to read this book again and see, because I'm certain, like, I trust Leigh a lot. I'm certain she included things in there where, like, the text is giving you something flowery to look at while something else is happening.
Yeah.
God, I keep forgetting all of the things I was gonna say. I know there's other stuff like
I just keep mixing up what happened in the first book and what happened in the second book.
That's why I wanted, when I finished this, I wanted to go straight into the second book, and I made myself wait. I was like, I'm gonna wait until after the chat, and then I'll read it so I don't get confused. And then it turned out it was checked out from the library anyway, so I couldn't read it. So that helped. But it was actually like Friday afternoon, like 10 minutes before we closed or something. Someone came in and they're like, "Oh, I have some books to return," and it was both of these books. Because I had put holds on both of them, so I'd get them when they come in. And I was like, "Yes, just in time."
Perfect.
Worked out.
Oh, I remembered. I loved how she used the chimes at the end to help you keep track of like what time it was, because I was really worried that the end would be super confusing. Because I knew they were all going to be in different places, and in every heist movie you're seeing like, here this is happening, here this is happening. I was like, how is she going to do it? But the fact that it just said like 9 chimes, 9.5 chimes,
yeah, that was
nice.
Nice.
Awesome.
How do you do half a chime?
It's like 9:30.
No, but like, how do you do half of a chime? You either have a chime or you don't have a chime.
I think they just call it that.
Yeah, I think it's called. Yeah. Like, I know, like, clock towers normally, it's like on the hour they do the number, and then like on the half hour it's just like a different tone that they do for the half hour.
Okay. I live in a very urban city, I live in a suburb of an urban city, so I have never heard a clock tower.
Yeah.
Actually, I must have heard a clock tower somewhere, but not anywhere near here.
Desiree asked, if you had to pick one OTP from the book, who would you choose? Mine is Wylan and Jesper.
I don't know why I love Jesper. I just like, I knew I was going to ship them so early on when like Kaz is like basically like assigns Jesper to like look after Wylan, and like Jesper can't stand him, and I was like, I'm gonna ship these two. I know it.
The song just starts playing really softly in your head, like, I will come down with it.
Well, I'm trying to. Oh no, that's the second book. Sorry, it's the second book. I gotta say, at the end of the second book, there was a couple things that she didn't leave open, but she kind of left a little bit untied, and I was kind of like, there could have been a third book because I really want to know what happens to this person and this person, this person. So I don't know if she's gonna do anything else in this world. She's coming out, I know, this fall with a series of fairy tales from the Grishaverse, so that's gonna be really cool. But I don't know if she's going to do any other series or companion novels or anything in this world. I swear
she is.
She is.
They just changed the trilogy title on the Grisha trilogy. Yeah, like
really.
What?
Now it's the whatever the first one is, Shadow and Bone trilogy, because they're opening up the Grishaverse more. They don't want that to be the Grisha specific series. Because there's more Grisha stuff. She's definitely staying in this world.
Okay. She's gonna pull a Cassandra Clare and stay in the world.
Okay.
We were talking about before we went live. Before we went live, we were talking about how she has like another series coming out that's like not related.
Does she? No.
It's
adult
one.
Goodreads.
Yeah, they announced it like a year ago because it was like a huge book deal. But it's like a girl at Harvard who discovers like an underground cult.
Oh, that sounds dope.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on Goodreads. Must know.
And I think it's getting published just as like an adult novel. Trilogy or trilogy or something.
So maybe for YA, she'll be spending a decent amount of time in the Grishaverse.
I don't even mind that, really.
Yeah. We were talking, I was at Emma's house recently, because we went to Harry Potter World together.
I'm so jealous, you guys.
And we were talking about, like, with Cassandra Clare, how she's, like, made a career from the Mortal Instruments world,
Mhm.
and how at first the like instinct was to be like, well, aren't you gonna write something like not in that world? But the more she does it, like getting better and better, and so it's like, you're doing great, like keep doing what you're doing. These are awesome.
Exactly.
And I feel kind of similarly with this. It's like I didn't even enjoy the first series that much, but I really like this one. So
yeah, and yeah, we were talking about like with Cassandra Clare. Part of what makes it work for, because there are other authors it doesn't work for when they stay in the same world, but for her it works because each series like is unique in some way. Even though it's all about shadow hunters, I feel like they're all different. So like, you know, like it's a different main, like the main characters aren't all the same. Like they all have something different defining them. So
Yeah.
the guys, I really like Emma in the new series because like she's like grown up as a shadow hunter. Like she's not new to the world. So I think that's like really like refreshing and new.
Yeah, well, I just finished Lord of Shadows, and it was so good.
I can't wait to read it.
It's so good.
I literally, after like Mortal Instruments and Infernal Devices, I was like, I think I'm done with like Cassandra Clare's like Shadowhunters books. I'm not gonna read anymore. And then I decided to listen to the audiobook of Lady Midnight, and I'm like hooked. And I'm like, I have to read every Shadowhunters book she ever writes. Emma and Julian. There's another topic for another day, but I just love them so much.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, oh my gosh. In Lord of Shadows, Julian is like, so intense character development. You're like, anyways. I just want to fangirl slightly a little bit because I finished it and like no one else that I know has finished it. So I'm like, I need to fangirl really hard.
I'll read it soon if I can find a copy somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. No, I just, again, with the whole Cassandra Clare thing where it's like, I personally really love that series. I know some people don't, but I just think it's a really unique world and I like how she builds on it. And I think you should do it in the right way where it's like, I know Sarah J. Maas's Throne of Glass, where it's like the first one is very, very, very different than the third one and is very different than the fifth one because she just keeps adding stuff on. And I kind of like it. I don't mind it. But I like Cassandra Clare's books because she's like adding it on in a way that everything's already been introduced. And then she's attacking kind of each section. And I love especially like the Dark Artifices, I think is her best yet. Like I loved Lady Midnight, and Lord of Shadows was so cool. I love how dark she's getting with her character development, and we go into Land of Fairy again. Like Fairy is really messed up, and it's so cool, and just so many tiny.
The next series is like a sequel to the Infernal Devices about like, those characters' children, so I'm so excited about that.
Yes, the last hours.
Anyway, we are doing the next series. It's called the Alex Stern series. What's the main character's name? And I was wrong. It's Yale, not Harvard. I apologize for mixing up too. But anyway, the first book is
Ninth House, yes.
Ooh,
But, that sounds kind of cool.
Yeah. But currently, for good reasons, that's all she has coming up in the future. Who knows? And she does have that Wonder Woman book that just came out. So.
Oh, Desiree also say that she has to go, but she was hanging out with us. So, Desiree, if you're still watching, thanks for being here.
Her Wonder Woman book comes out in August.
Oh yes, right, the Wonder Woman book. Yes.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. I figured out where Kaz pickpockets him.
You did? How?
Yeah.
Where?
So Rollins doles out the cash and has Kaz write like a transfer order, so they're right next to each other at that point. And then they shake on the deal, and his grip is super knuckle crushing, and he like looks at him really intensely and is like, "You don't remember me at all, do you?" And he looks all creepy, and Rollins is like, "I need these guys to get out of here," and so he like tries to wrap it up really quickly. And I'm like 99% sure that's where he would pickpocket him.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to learn more about this Grishaverse because I really liked where she traveled to in Shadow and Bone, because we kind of go to a couple of places, and then in Six of Crows we go to even more places on the map, and then so I'm hoping in the next little while that we get to go to other continents with the Grisha.
Yeah. Oh, so I just looked over and I was open to this one page, and it's like just a few sentences that sums up every character so well.
Really?
Kaz leaned back. "What's the easiest way to steal a man's wallet? Knife to the throat," said Inej. "Gun to the back," said Jesper. "Poison in his cup," suggested Nina. "You're all horrible," said Matthias.
Well, what's the answer? How is the best way to steal a man's wallet, Emma?
Kaz answers it.
The easiest way to steal a man's wallet is to tell him you're going to steal his wallet. You can't put attention and direct where you want it to go.
Or it's you tell him you're gonna steal something else, right?
Oh yeah, sorry. The easiest way to tell him to steal his wallet is to tell him you're going to steal his watch. Sorry, yeah, right.
Watch it.
Like
Like steal a wallet.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
redirect
walk up to someone, I'm going to steal your wallet. And they're like, no, this is just going to...
Yeah, I remember reading that and being like, characterization.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Oh, it's like that also reminds me. I'm like, what does it remind me of? I'm like, Lord of Shadows. There's a moment where the one of the characters asks, like, you pull a shell out of the water and open it, what's inside, and then they all name something, and it's really funny to see what people name. I mean, they're all like very serious. It's a very serious scene. And then they all do name like very serious things, but it's all kind of like, oh, this person is like, oh, it's a knife, and then this other person's like, oh, it's it's an amulet, and this person's like, oh, it's this, and I think that's good for like character development because it also just shows people like what they're gonna first think of. Poison in his cup.
All the dialogue I feel like is super great. Like,
yeah, I
well.
was realizing like most of this book is dialogue. There's a ton of it, and I'm just so impressed by it.
Yes.
I love it.
I don't know. It's just a solid book. It's one of my favorite fantasy novels.
What do we read next month?
The Reader by Tracy Chee.
Oh, I have to read that.
Oh yes, I have to read that too.
I've already read it, and I'm very excited for our chat. I feel like it's going to be a really interesting one. And this book is another one that's beautiful.
It is.
Like, watch the text, like, not just the text, but, like, the whole page. Like, there's secret messages on the pages.
Ooh.
It's beautiful. I'm very excited to talk about it.
Yes, I've heard fantastic things.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be a very interesting chat. And the second one's coming out soon. They just revealed the cover.
Oh.
All right. Well, this has been like a solid length for a book club chat.
Yeah, go us.
Sure, I'm gonna remember like 4 other things that I wanted to mention
Sure.
as soon as we're off air. But well, if anybody wants to leave their own thoughts in the comments, you go ahead and do that. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of chatter and a lot of fangirling going on. So anybody that was here for our Six of Crows Book Club, thank you for tuning in. We will be back next week with a live chat on a topic I don't know as of this moment. But
Something writing related, probably.
yes.
Definitely something book related.
If you have something you want us to talk about, like tweet at us or something.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
or put it in the discussion, please.
Yeah.
Yes, it'll be great. We're going to have a live chat again on Sunday and our daily videos for you like always. So thank you for tuning in and sharing your opinions. We will see you guys all next week. Bye.
Bye.